3. Surprise! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 8 of the Daily Code. I'm your host, assertchris, or Chris, or just Chris. And I wasn't going to stream today, but now I am. I was initially going to stream a live event, the Wellington ComSci meetup, and I got there and chatted with the organizers, and turns out they're not too keen on it right now. So they said maybe in the future I could stream them when people get a bit more comfortable at the idea of being on camera. But for now, not happening. After that conversation, we sat around for about 15 or 20 minutes until one person arrived for the meetup. So we decided just to call it off because we only had half an hour left in a lot of time. And I thought it would be great to come back, to rush back. I rushed back to stream and continue with the Icicle stuff that I've been doing. So you probably aren't here, or maybe late, or maybe you don't think I'm going to be streaming tonight, because I did say I'm not going to be streaming this code tonight, but I am. So if you, I don't know, if you're watching this, I guess either you made it or you're watching the archives, in which case, you know, welcome. The theme for tonight is to continue with the Icicle IO stuff that I've been doing, but I want to add some quality of life stuff tonight. So far we have it rendering static files, and we have it we have our application serving different routes, and that's great, and it's working, and it's all non-blocking and looks awesome. But it's a bit of work to get there. You know, we need to construct responses with raw streams, and there's no redirect functionality, and even how we're defining routes and how we're returning views is a bit cruddy. Also, the views, or the templates, if you prefer, are very simple. They're just static HTML. We're not doing any string replacement, we're not doing any variable stuff, we're not doing template inheritance, and I kind of want to do that. Now, our options for doing template inheritance and just template rendering in general are quite limited if we want to try and do it in a non-blocking way. So we're going to have to get creative with how we do that. We may just have to implement our own thing, I hope not. We'll look at a few options, and I'll probably decide one I think looks like the least effort. So let's go do that. Let's go do that. So I mentioned plates as an option. This is again another library from the PHP League. So if we head over here, this is a curated list of libraries, and it's pretty cool. And plates is one of these. It's a template rendering engine, and it uses, it's pretty simple actually. It uses normal PHP code. So if you write PHP code for the back end, it's PHP code for the front end. But it allows you to do some interesting things like nesting, like layouts, like having sections. All that stuff's pretty cool. I know for a fact that this isn't asynchronous in nature, so we're going to have to be creative with it. We may have to see if we can just fetch the template markup asynchronously and then give that to plates to render. Maybe that's what we do. Let's look at the examples that they have here. If there are examples here, maybe I just have to go back to the docs. I'll just go back to the docs, shall I? Okay, so the main thing that there's two things that I'm kind of interested in. The first is, can we render from a string? Do we have to specify a file, or can we render from a string? We may actually have to dive into the source code to see this. So it looks like engine is sort of the root entry point into this. So here, when we construct an engine, we give a directory. That's probably not what we want to do, because we don't want plates to load the file, because that'll be blocking, we know for sure. So functions, extensions, paths, make, render. Well, this make name. So new template. Okay, well, let's go have a look at the template class then. Template. Okay, so we construct this with an engine and a name. Name becomes its own class. Data exists, path, render. Okay, so engine make this layout name. Okay, so this will return a separate template, right? Because that's what engine does in the make method. So layout render, we're looking for the render method here. Render, no, have I passed it? Render, okay, it's like a nested thing. Unset, extract data. Well, I don't know. I don't know. What does the data method do here? Let's see. Data, what am I missing, man? I hate scrolling through the stuff like this because it seems so haphazard. Data, that doesn't do anything. That doesn't do anything. These are instances that we're going to get that the engine's going to render. So we give a template name to the engine, and it creates an instance of template, and presumably calls the render method on it with some data. Include this path. Okay, so it's doing an include of that PHP file. That's, well, is that the worst if we do that? Is that the worst? Because it's going to, like, this will fetch code from the op cache, right? So it's not always going to be a blocking file lookup. Maybe what we can do is we can render the templates out in a separate process or in a separate thread. Maybe we can use something like Icicle's concurrent library. Render the templates out in a separate process and cache them. Okay, we don't have any cache at the moment, so that may be problematic. We may have to just store them in memory, maybe. Maybe we store them in memory. I don't know. But yeah, okay. Let's try this out. Let's try this out. It may not be entirely non-blocking to begin with, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay. So to begin with, we have to require this. We'll say something like composer require league plates. League plates. Got there in the end. I got there in the end. That's what's important. And that'll take a while. Then let's go back to the example code here and do this. We'll do this within our helper view method because that's kind of what we want to use for the moment. We want to abstract this a little bit later, which we'll do. But for the moment we can leave that stuff out. We'll create this directory, something like this. Something like that, actually. So resources views, which remember is where this stuff is, the error pages and the index page. And so we create this engine. Thank you for the info, Greg. And we can yield whatever this renders, with the second argument being the data that gets passed in here, right? So this can be path, and the second argument is data. Maybe this works, but maybe this will be very blocking. I kind of don't know. My assumption is that because it uses include to load the template, which makes sense because it's passing normal PHP code, right? Because it uses include, that often PHP will just store this in op cache, especially if it's regularly used stuff. We would probably want to look at using another memory cache that's not op cache, something like memcache or Redis, to cache the stuff a little bit more intelligently. Maybe to cache the raw template files. Maybe we need to rework league plates. Who knows? Who knows? For the moment, let's try this. Is this installed? Yes, it is. Okay. So this is installed. Let's start up the server. PHP 5.6 index, and then open up our browser, and success? No. Get length on string. Okay, so this isn't a stream. Remember, we need need to store this stuff in a stream. So I'll do something like this. Templates is that. Stream is this, and stream end with the template data. Oops, actually that's not what we want to do. This is what we want to do. So D template yield stream. Okay, maybe that's what we want to do. Restart the server. Yes? No? Error? Interesting. No error exactly. It's 200 okay, but no error exactly. What could be wrong here? What could be wrong? Oh, I'm not calling an extension on this. Is that possibly what the problem is? So render partials header, render profile with an array of data. This seems to be okay. Oh, wait a second. Okay, so this is getting an engine and then just rendering a named path within that engine, right? Within this directory. But here, this gets another engine, creates an individual template from that. It's actually kind of confusing for why that's there. I'm kind of confused as to why that's there. Let's do some debugging here. Rendered is this. And rendered is what we want to pass back to the memory sink. So let's debug what this is. Debug. Print R. Let's print R what this is. Totes debugging. Totes. That's the